Welcome to the Six Hats podcast, where I, Dr. Shami, a lifestyle and nutritional medicine family doctor, will talk about how women strive to find balance each day by juggling their six roles, being a woman, mother, daughter, partner, business owner, and professional. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Six Hats podcast. And today I have Laura Hahn. She's an integrative nutrition health coach, but with a difference. She founded Thrive ABC after breast cancer, a place for you to recover and thrive following your breast cancer journey, because she knew that it's not always easy or straightforward. So Laura in 2016 was diagnosed with breast cancer and her world was turned upside down. She felt well, strong and happy, but didn't know that she had breast cancer and that it spread to her lymph nodes. So she started treatment almost immediately with surgery, chemotherapy and radiation. And she found all of that tough. But when she finished active treatment, she thought she would make a miraculous recovery, and she didn't. She was still very anxious, stressed. Her body was inflamed, her digestion was poor, and she wasn't sleeping. Now, she also wasn't sure where to begin her process of recovery. As she found her path, she realized that she could help others with this process too. So she then became qualified as an integrative nutrition health coach and gained her accreditation with HCANZA, the Health Coaches Australia New Zealand Association. So welcome, Laura.
Thank you very much, Shami, for having me today.
So Laura, I'd love for you to start with that personal journey that led you to support women with breast cancer. And you can start wherever you feel comfortable.
Yes, Shami, it's so interesting hearing you tell my story, because I guess often we get used to our own story, and it's really interesting to hear you tell me that story again. And it sort of brings it all very much back into focus for me. I was 50 when I was diagnosed. I had a couple of things I wanted to check out, one of which was a sore knee. And so I went to the doctor and I thought, well, I'm here now. I should also have a mammogram and do the other things that kind of need to happen when you turn 50. And I'm so grateful that I did that, because I'm not entirely sure that I wouldn't have postponed that appointment beyond 50. I got the call back from my doctor and I really hoped that it was my sore knee, but unfortunately it was not. It was that I had breast cancer. Early kind of indications were that I would not have to have chemotherapy, that it wouldn't be in my lymph nodes, but unfortunately it was quite a small lump in the breast, but it had actually traveled to my sentinel node. So I immediately was starting chemotherapy, radiation. I had a couple of surgeries to make sure the margins were clear. And then I had the following 7 years of hormone estrogen blocking therapy so that I could try and give myself the best chance of that cancer not returning. As you mentioned, like when I was diagnosed and went through all the treatment, which took about 10 months, I guess, the active treatment, at the end of it, I didn't know how I was going to recover. I felt like I'd been on this incredible journey, which had challenges as well, but I was so well supported by all of the medical people, my family, my friends, everyone was there with me on that journey, which was amazing. But when I went for that last appointment and I was told that I was all clear, I don't need to be coming back, I felt really at a loss. I felt elated, but also quite scared, because I had gone, as you say, from feeling really well and completely unaware that I had this cancer issue to feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. So I was really a bit concerned about how I was going to get myself well again without that kind of regular and ongoing support. And for me, I actually had access to a nutrition program, some products, and I thought, okay, well, I've got this, I should try it. And I did. And it was basically an elimination diet supported by products. And I couldn't believe how quickly I felt better. Within a few weeks, I felt so much better. I felt my anxiety levels decreased. I was sleeping better and I felt less inflamed. And I guess over the years after that, I wanted to understand more about how did that help me? Why did that help me? And how could I help others with that same situation? And that's what led me to health coaching and to study health coaching and to eventually focus on that in my work.
Amazing, amazing. And how long ago was this, Laura?
So my diagnosis, as you said, was 2016.
Yes, that's right.
I studied in 2020
Oh,
health
wow.
coaching. I did it
journey.
through COVID. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. And it was so interesting you mentioned about that last appointment. And it's amazing because I see many patients go through this journey, and it's multiple appointments, so many different types of specialists. And it's almost overwhelming in that journey, but it's also kind of supportive, knowing that you're seeing someone every week, you're seeing some professional every week giving you that support. When you walked away, did you notice that even like family and friends got on with their life, and you almost go, all right, there's no one to check in. No one's checking in on me.
That's true. And I think, Shami, for me, and I hear it from others as well, is that forever you have had cancer, and forever there's an element that stays with you about that and unknown, which I think people around you can't quite gather. I certainly didn't gather it for others before I had my own experience. And it's that thing that you are going to deal with that. You're going to have that. But people do think, well, you're cured, you're well. And so that's kind of the end of it. But having said that, Shami, there's also, you would have seen this, I'm sure, but there's also that sense that people do move on, but they also continue to ask you if you're well. Like they're continuing. So you have that sense of, oh, am I? Maybe I'm not. Like there is also the reminder that you might not be, because of course people care and they are wanting to make sure that you are going well. But that can be also a little bit of a kind of burden, I guess, as you continue to try and recover.
Yeah. And how did you stumble across nutrition? Was it something that you were curious about, or it just, landed in your inbox?
So when I actually tried the elimination diet, I was actually representing a product. So I was selling a product.
Oh, great.
But I didn't know. I hadn't been promoting it to anyone because I didn't really understand the elements of that program. I wasn't really focused on that, but I had access to it and I thought, this is something that I should try. Obviously, I've now understood that there are so many benefits we can get by changing our diet and by making some changes. But at the time, I guess I was new to that world of nutrition and nutritional products as well.
Amazing. And that's music to my ears, because that's literally what we do at Mint Clinic. It's using nutrition, looking at nutrient deficiencies, but also looking at lifestyle stress management in order for you to feel better. And it's interesting that you mentioned you did feel anxious and tired. So what were you doing before you changed your diet? Was there anything major that you changed that you realized, was it the big things like giving up sugar?
Yes. So when I changed my diet, I actually cut out gluten, sugar, processed foods to a large degree, caffeine. I actually did a fairly serious elimination diet, I guess. But incredibly, I think the first few days were a struggle, but within 3 weeks, I felt so much better. I gradually added back in some of those things, but just took that very steadily as I worked out what was actually best for my body and for where I was at. So it was really such an eye-opener to do that, to have that first-person experience of making those changes.
Wow. And how quickly did you feel less anxious when you made those dietary changes? Can you remember?
Pretty much straight away.
Wow.
Understanding about the pillars of health and how interconnected they are, I think that there were many things that led to that. So I certainly felt like inflammation was reduced. That's a little bit harder for me to quantify though, because I wasn't testing anything. But also I started to sleep better. I started to feel less anxious. I started to do some extra exercise because I had some more energy. So there were so many things that were immediately improved.
Wow. And what was your motivator? Because as a health coach, it is about how do we motivate patients on that journey? Because to be honest, many patients are probably sitting feeling quite lethargic. And I hear this a lot, lethargic, probably just under the weather, not motivated. They have the knowledge, they know exactly what to do, but it's just actually getting themselves to do it. And so how do you do that? What do you say to that?
Yeah, so looking back at my experience, I was told a few times by medical professionals to plan for something, to have something in the future that you were really looking forward to. And so for us, we were planning a family holiday overseas, and I really wanted to be well, happy, fit, able to be in the moment. I had so many elements of that I really wanted to enjoy and be fully present for. So that was a big thing for me. I also wanted just to get back into being able to work effectively and do the things, look after my kids, do all of those things that I had felt had pretty significantly dropped off during the course of my treatment. And I think, as you say, it's really important that as part of the health coaching process, we're helping people to not only, I guess, develop the vision of what they see for their future, but then also, why do they see it? What is going to motivate them to actually get them to achieve that and to get there?
Amazing. And now, as a health coach, and you've helped women in a similar situation to yours, I would love to hear a few more stories. What other challenges do women face post-treatment?
Yeah, so I think, Shami, it can be quite variable, but there are some things that are commonly struggles for people. It can be related to weight gain and sometimes weight loss, but often weight gain. There's the element of anxiety and fear. There's fear around so many things, like fear around recurrence, fear around scans, fear around side effects like heart conditions or osteoporosis, those sorts of things. And then there's also fatigue, I think, and that whole sleep element. And as we were sort of saying earlier, they're interrelated, but I think those are the kind of main things that people are consciously looking to address and wanting help with. I think, though, I've certainly seen cases where someone is wanting help to lose weight, but as we work together and start to unpack what that is, often it's dealing with something like maybe a stress situation or overwhelm. There are things happening in their life that are actually really blocking that ability for them to lose weight. And so I think that that's a really helpful part of the coaching process, that you can really work with someone to delve deeper, to get past that, what they think is the initial goal for them, and unwind some of the other things so that they can actually achieve that vision in the long term.
I love that. I love that. It's diving deeper and just looking at those barriers, because we may not be aware of those barriers initially. Yes, we want to lose that weight. We want to look a certain way. And we always wonder, but why am I not doing those steps? Why am I still sleeping late? Why am I still not moving more? It's really interesting when you look back, and it goes back to importance. That's what I see in my practice. Well, is it important for you at this moment in time? And you're then more likely going to do it. And how confident are you in implementing it as well? But it comes back down to importance. Is this important right now in your life? Do you have time for it? And if it's important, you will create time for it. You will prioritize. And I think what I'm hearing from your story, you desperately wanted to feel better. And you're a great example how nutrition transforms mental and physical health. Amazing example. And I think more and more patients and listeners need to hear that nutrition affects mental and physical health. And it's not hard to see that change very quickly, because sometimes I think, weight, it can take weeks, it can take months, but feeling better, calmer, sleeping better, having more energy can take days. Literally days for you to feel better. I do have a question for you. It's on a bit of a sidetrack. How did you give up coffee? Because I get this question a lot, just because they go, Shami, I love coffee. Please don't make me give up. And I'm not going to make you do anything. But then I just kind of explain the impact of caffeine, what is it looking like, and where your body is at the moment, and you decide. But I'm curious about you. How did you do that?
I didn't give up forever. Let me just say that. I enjoy coffee. But I found that I supported that with a replacement. So I made sure that I had the vitamins and minerals that were going to really help me still feel energized. And I needed those because I was depleted anyway. So I supported with that. And I also was able to add in some things like green tea and guarana. So it wasn't a complete lot. I didn't completely cut out caffeine, but I changed the source of it so that it actually was providing me a longer lasting kind of lift without kind of needing the dependence on it. It wasn't creating the addiction of having to have multiple cups and then having the crash or not being able to sleep. So it was a slightly different approach to cutting out coffee. Yeah. I'm not sure if you have other tips for people, Shami, about how to cut it out.
It's interesting you say that, because I always say, caffeine is like this artificial stimulant that creates a false fight or flight response. And if you're in that stress response anyway, you're literally feeding yourself another stress response. So it's up to you how you would like to play it. It's really interesting because when you're in the stress response, what do you go to? Naturally, sugar, caffeine, alcohol. That is so natural, but all those three elements are actually making you feel worse. So what I like to do is like reframe it. How would you like to nourish your body when you are feeling stressed, when you've got those external stresses of maybe work demands, family demands, how would you like to feel? And so what would you like to do in terms of nourishing your body? And then you make that choice. It's about how you feel and what you observe as well. So when you make that change, I always have my patients really dive in deep down and go, how do you feel? What do you see? What do you experience? Because that experience is going to motivate you to keep going. And 9 times out of 10, patients do come back and go, wow, I didn't realize caffeine was doing this to me. I'm so much more calmer. I'm sleeping better. And most often they end up almost like yourself, just reframing how they look at caffeine, but also looking at alternatives as well. And they never really want to go back. And when we don't know until we try it, that's the thing, because it's years and years of drinking caffeine, and it can last 3 weeks in the system. It can make you falsely anxious, and you have to do a good trial without, see the benefits. So it's almost like understanding what it's doing to your body and how you would like to feel, rather than the old way of going, stop that, stop this, start this. It doesn't make sense to people. You've got to understand what your body's going through. But
I completely agree. Yeah. And I think the change that I made, I probably was drinking probably 2 coffees a day, maybe back then. It depended on the stage of treatment, whether it tasted good to me or not. And that I reduced to maybe the equivalent of half a coffee a day. And so I found that an easier way to actually sort of make that adjustment so that it wasn't a cold turkey sort of thing for me.
yeah, amazing.
Coffee was, but not caffeine. Yeah.
You also mentioned about anxiety, and I'm hearing it as medical health anxiety, which is so understandable because you've been through quite a scary, confronting experience, and your mind is sort of wired that way when you're going through it. How did you overcome it, and what kind of strategies do you use?
I was introduced to meditation quite early on in my treatment, and I was having fairly severe anxiety. I was also thankfully supported with psychological appointments. And so I introduced meditation, which I found very hard to begin with. I felt like it was making me more anxious because I had this space to had my brain almost freed, and I was filling the space sometimes with unhelpful thoughts. So it took me a little bit to get into the swing of it, but then I found that it was an incredible tool every day to help me to just, I guess, calm the mind. I implemented some extra breathing techniques. Things like yoga I've found helpful throughout my life, but adding in the meditation was probably the biggest thing for me. Things like not drinking as well really help, obviously, from that anxiety point of view, and improving sleep and those sorts of things. So there were a few things, but the most significant one for me was the meditation. And also I think getting outside and exercising when I could was really, really key as well.
Amazing. And how is life at the moment for you, Laura? Do you feel, how is it? I would love to know from you.
Yeah, so life is good. Yeah, as I mentioned, 8 years down the track now. And so I've completed my hormone blocking therapy. I still see my surgeon and my oncologist once a year, still do the checkups, but maybe that won't be for much longer. And so life is good. I'm, really loving being able to work in this health coaching space and to help support other women going through the journey that I've been on. And so, I'm really excited about where that might go and how I can actually help there.
Amazing. So this is a great time to actually ask, where can people find you if they're interested in coaching sessions with yourself?
Yeah, sure. My website is thriveabc.com.au. So that's Thrive After Breast Cancer. Thriveabc.com.au is probably the best place to start.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Laura.
Thank you, Shami. It's been wonderful to talk to you.
Remember that this is general advice only. Please see your healthcare professional for more information. So what's your take-home message today? Remember, it's all about progress and not perfection. And are you suffering from stress? Visit the Usawa Learning Hub on usawa.com.au for more resources on how to de-stress, re-energize, and reclaim your health. Enjoy the journey.